All right, it's Monday, September 30th. It's about an hour and a half into trading, and I just wanted to follow up on the QQQs because there was a comment earlier on one of my videos after kind of seeing this first green bar. How do I know if it's going to follow through, potentially higher or maybe reverse to the downside? And I answered it, in the comments, but it's kind of easy to explain this and some of the other context that I look at, here on video. So I just thought I'd follow up as I continue to watch this trade unfold, hopefully to the downside. So for me, the first thing is I always come into the session with context in mind. And since we had a red day from yesterday or, the end of last week, I'm kind of anticipating the lows of that bar to be tested just because it's a red bar. I mean, if we open up above the midpoint of that bar and start higher, that could be a great buy signal too. But when I see us opening up kind of near the low end of that range, I expect those lows to be tested. So I have that bias coming into, today, depending where price action opens, which I never know for sure. So since we're opening near the bottom, I also see that we have a pre-market range, between the high right here and the low right here. So when we get that first green bar coming up to take out those stops here at the high of the pre-market range, and we're still below the midpoint of the prior day, this could be an excellent failure area just to take out some stops and then get back, to the context of taking out the lows of the prior day. So, I don't know for sure what bar 2 is going to do relative to my plan of always judging what happens after bar 1. But in this case, given that this could be a potential failure area, and then I see the red bar form and give me a 2 down, that's why I bought the puts right here, anticipating at that point when I buy the puts, I know the low of the day is the next target. I know those pre-market lows are a target after that. And then I know, as I described in some of the videos, if we can get below there, then we have the potential for a 2 down week unfolding, which really isn't there yet. This is the first day of the week, Monday. So a lot of context will depend upon how price action moves relative to the open of this week. So we really won't know that until the end of the day. So it's just kind of an opening trade on Monday here that wants to seem to start to the downside. And in this case, it's not as if I was, I know for sure what's going to happen after bar 1, but I do know that it's a potential failure area, given that we came out, took out pre-market highs well below the midpoint of the prior day, and price action kind of confirmed that. If we would have continued up, I could have, let's say I was in the mood just because of price action starting out on bar 1, then following on bar 2. I could have bought it there, maybe calls, and to see if we get some kind of strong follow through and had to stop at the midpoint of that first bar if I was wrong. What I would typically do on a day like this where we're below the midpoint of the prior day, I would want to see price action really follow through up strongly all morning long, and then I might buy the first pullback anticipating we might be getting a reversal day. So I'm not that excited when I see this kind of price action early to buy, looking for a reversal. I would have been more excited if we started above the midpoint of that day and headed up. So that's kind of an explanation as to, how I kind of judge opening price action, judge the context, and then once I'm in the trade, judge the overall context, where we are starting out in the week, what has to happen, what are some of the key levels. So just thought I'd follow up. At the moment, I'm still buying puts. Like I described in video 2, I knew these 2 blue lines were key inflection points here. So obviously you have a little bit of a pause developing here, which I kind of anticipated, just knowing that this is such a key level here. If we break through, then we have the opportunity to head a lot lower. But if we don't, then, this could be a whole reversal back to the upside. And I described how you can do no worse than break even now that you got a little follow through on bar 2 and, on bars 3 and 4 to the downside. And now we're going to watch here and see if this green action here can start taking out the midpoint of that first bar. At this point, I'd really want to see it take out the high of the day and follow through strongly to the midpoint of that prior day. If it can't do that, even if we go up here and take out those highs, that could just be taking out these stops again and continuing lower. So until this day finishes up here, I'm biased to the downside. But if we get a green reversal bar, then, into the rest of the week, I can really get comfortable to the upside. So a lot has to happen for that, to develop today. It's possible. But, the opening price action seemed to want to head lower. The context is we're now judging some key areas to see what develops. So just thought I'd follow, up with that on, explaining things a little more detail about how my trading plan always judges what happens after that first bar and how price action unfolds relative to that first bar. And, a lot of context is involved. But for now, the price action is still to the downside until proven otherwise. But I kind of know what has to happen to confirm that in a big way to the downside. And if we want to reverse bars to the upside, there'll be good opportunities likely, either this afternoon. Let's say we go strongly up here and take those out, then we might get a first pullback buy, into the afternoon. Or if not, then we'll get some buying. If we get a green reversal bar today, we can look for holding above the midpoint and then maybe heading higher to some of these targets for the rest of the week. So I'm trying to judge here, on the weekly chart, starting out the week, are we going to really head lower, stay below the open and get a 2 down week? Or is this just a continuation of these green bars to the upside? And Monday's a little tricky to know that, but that kind of explains hopefully a little bit more about how I judge price action and how I try to judge context.